All right, let's get into the players here. We're going to look at DraftKings pricing. 9K and above, 3 tournament plays, a cash play, and a fade. Pat, I will start with my fade. I'm just going to go a little off the reservation here. I'm going to continue, despite the $9,300 price tag, to fade Dustin Johnson. 78 was his first round score at the 3M Open. He withdrew due to injury. Hot take, he's not injured. And 2 rounds of 80 at the Memorial before that. And before that, a win, which is very weird. But even with the win since the restart, he is 37th in approach and 37th in greens and regulation in this field. And he's 47th in bogey avoidance in this field out of 78. Not great for Dustin Johnson at $9,300. Yes, it's an attractive name at a price that we're not used to seeing him at. I don't think DJ's hurt. He's definitely got to figure some stuff out. But the iron play, the tee to green game is not there. And despite being a winner here twice, I will gladly continue fading him. I'm not going to buy it.
Crazy is it that he literally had to like birdie 2 of his last 3 holes to not shoot 3
to not shoot 80
rounds.
again. Yeah. Okay, now
who just won? He just won. Like,
yeah, it's so crazy. All right, now for the top, I'm not going to get super committed here. There are a ton of incredibly great names to pick here, right? I'm going to name some of my favorites, and I think at the end of the week, or come Wednesday in terms of DFS, it's going to just come down to who are the 3 that I think I can get the most ownership leverage of. I'm going to start with Justin Thomas. Love where his iron play is right now. The form is incredible. He's checking all the boxes, and definitely the iron play is what really attracts me the most to JT. Webb, who has a good record at this golf course when you look at not just finishing runner-up last year at the WGC, but also previous years at St. Jude. He's played very well. Loves Bermuda. I love Webb. I'm getting in on Xander. I love where his iron play is as well. He's number 1 in this field in greens and regulation since the restart. Scores a lot of birdies. I do like that. He doesn't putt as well on Bermuda, but I like the birdie potential for Xander. I like Berger a lot here, bouncing back off a miscut last time we saw him at the Memorial. He loves this golf course. He's on record of loving this golf course, which anybody who wins twice is going to love a golf course. But it fits his eye. Tee to green, I think it fits his eye. He's very familiar with the champion Bermuda grass that you get on these green surfaces. It's what he grew up playing on. So I love Berger. And I think it's really tough to avoid when you talk about ball striking, hitting it in the fairway and not missing greens. It's really tough to avoid Victor Hovland, who is doing that almost better than anyone else, actually better than anyone else, tee to green, since the restart at a mere 9,400. And then finally, I'm going to keep riding the train, and it's paid off for me so far. The Matthew Fitzpatrick train, I am all aboard. He's played well here last year, 3rd at the Memorial, a player who doesn't get himself in a lot of trouble. He ranks 5th in bogey avoidance and actually scores a little bit too, 17th in birdies or better gained since the restart out of this field. Tee to green guy, very steady, and can score. So those are just some names I like. I know I didn't name 3, but I think it's going to be kind of a land on the 3 lowest owned, or maybe pick the one that I really love despite ownership and get the 2 others for leverage. But I do feel like in terms of cash, if I were going to play cash, which I wouldn't this week, I would play Webb. I think that's as good a bet as any. So there you go.
All right. Well, so definitely some agreement here. For me, I'll start with cash. I actually have Hovland in cash. I mean, I just think it's a good
Don't
price
mind
at
it.
9,400, and he's just been incredible and checking all the boxes and whatever. But I was kind of flopping because I'm not going to play any cash, and I just whatever. I'm with you though on Xander. He was one of my GPP plays this week. I like him a ton. I like Matthew Fitzpatrick. He didn't necessarily fit my 3 that I landed on, but I do like him as well. And I think he's a good bet this week also. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I do think he's a pretty decent bet. depending on what price you're getting him on a sports book. But at the top there, I mean, I gotta say, and I'm sure there's going to be some ownership, but I'll plant my flag and go play some Rory. I mean, the guy's just absolutely been fantastic on this course. He hasn't finished worse than 6 in the last 3 straight years of playing this course. So obviously plays here pretty well. We know he checks all the boxes when you look at, par 4 scoring 450 to 500 yards, opportunities gained, bogey avoidance, ball striking, all of that kind of stuff. Even his, driving accuracy is pretty good. He's top 40 in the field. So I guess he's in the top half. So that's not, out of 78. That's not that great. But anyway, I do like some Rory at 11-2, and I think I will play him. I'll be interested to see where his ownership comes in. I do think it's going to be high. A guy that you've kind of not liked that much this year, but old Tyrrell Hatton at 90.
I thought you were going to say that.
700. I'm a fan of his. Look, you talked about form early on, and this is a guy that if you want form, he's got it. I mean, he has been now.
Yeah, he does.
We have not seen him since the Rocket Mortgage. He didn't play over at the Memorial. He didn't go in the bubble there for 2 weeks, and he didn't play last week. But he's 3rd at the Heritage. He was 4th at the Rocket Mortgage. I mean, the guy's just been playing incredibly. He's won this year. So I think he is a great play at 9,700, and I think he's still going to be the forgotten man of this group because there's so many good guys here. I mean, if you look at it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's very hard to peg. I mean, you got JT right there around him, Cantlay, Webb, Xander. I just feel like Hatton might end up being a little bit of the forgotten person and hopefully get a little bit lower ownership on him. And I like him here. So I think this could be a good spot for him. He has played this course. He does have experience. Now, his best finish was T13 in 2017 in a much larger field event, which was, that was back before it was a WGC event. Last year, he finished 27th. Wait, sorry. Looking at the wrong. Yeah. No, last year he finished T43. But anyway, I do like some Hatton this week. I think he is a good tournament play. My fade's going to be Brooks. If you watch Brooks, now, here's the thing with him. He could easily just, because it's the type of field it is, he always shows up in majors, these WGC events, that kind of stuff. Like, he could just turn it around. But I watched him a lot last week because I had him, and I had him in a lot of good lineups, and he screwed me. And I'm not just going by this because of recency bias, and I think that just because he screwed me last week, but he was like, I should stand up. Like doing this thing with his leg and his knee and moving all around and like stretching it out and just looked all out of sorts and not like excited about anything with his game. Like he just didn't even look like he was enjoying being out there. And something's just off with Brooks. Now, maybe a light clicks and this week is different. But I can't do it. I am not gonna play him. But somebody in the Nut Hut is going to get to me on Wednesday night. I'm going to end up putting him in the lineup. But I don't know. I'm not feeling Brooks in this game right now. I can't. Like, I feel like I could play DJ over Brooks, even though DJ's been worse.
I honestly feel like DJ and Brooks are the only two here that are fadeable. Like that I could not be talked into. You could talk me into literally any other play. I mean, even Hatton. I like Hatton. Like, any other name 9K and above other than DJ and Brooks, I will say, yeah, I like that. If that's what you wanted, yeah. Like, you make your call. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you with Brooks. I mean, he did hit it better. He did hit the ball better this past week. He lost 5 shots putting, which is crazy. He normally never does that. Awful. He is arriving to a course where it's Bermuda, which is his best putting surface by a long shot. This is also something that we learned about Brooks years ago when we interviewed him. And he said this after that. He doesn't like playing more than 3 events in a row. That's when he was healthy. He said that. Mm-hmm. This is his 4th event in a row. He's looking for something. He would not be playing here if he wasn't. He would be taking it off, resting for the PGA.
And he's a defending champion, so I almost feel like
defending champ. Yeah, but you know what? Who doesn't care about doing that? Like Brooks. Like if any
actually, yeah, he is the one that would be like, he would just be like, screw it, I'm not playing.
Yeah, if any defending champ wants to go, you know what, guys, I don't feel it. I'm not there. I'm not meant. I'm not coming. Like, it would be Brooks. So I don't even care about that. I just know he doesn't like playing more than 3 events in a row, and that is well documented. And this is his 4th event in a row, and he knows now that playing the PGA is going to be his 5th event in a row, and then he's going to have to play the FedEx playoffs.
Well,
I'm sure he'll skip the Wyndham.
That's another thing is he's so far out right now.
Yeah, he's out of it.
So
which is motivating.
That's the part that's going to drag me in because he's so motivated. Like he might not even make the playoffs because he's got to play well this week. So I don't know, but I didn't like what I saw with him coming down the stretch on Friday trying to make the cut.
I'm with you. Let's move on to the AK range real quick here. I'm going to start again with my fade. This gentleman has played 16 rounds in his career at TPC Southwind and has lost nearly a half a stroke total, strokes gained, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is in the bottom of people who've played here before that are in this event. Gary Woodland is my fade. Finished T55 here in 2019. His worst putting surface by far, Bermuda, which Gary's frustrating on his best putting surface to watch putt, and you get him on his worst putting surface, and he is going to really drive you nuts. Here's what really kind of was crazy to me. He's played in 5 events since the restart. In those 5 events, he has lost 9.6 strokes off the tee. 9.6 off the tee lost in the 5 events since the restart. That is a little concerning at a course that, to me, highly values accuracy. Now, Gary can hit his little stinger, but he's done that on these other courses he's played, and it's not working for him. And he's also typically, when you look long-term, a pretty poor scrambler, usually bottom of the rung. Did he scramble his balls off to win the U.S. Open at Pebble? Yes, he did. Yes, sir, he did. He sold his soul to the devil the way he scrambled that week. It was absurdly out of character for him. So I think Gary is the one the fade in this range that to me makes the most sense at the $8,600 price tag. Now, my favorite play here is definitely Abraham Answer, who will be, I would assume, pretty chalky, but I've played him chalky or not since the restart, and it's been pretty good. You get him at $8,400. He is playing lights out right now. I'm all in on Abraham Answer. In terms of, and I would play him in cash, but he's also my favorite GPP play. I don't even know why we're talking about cash this week. I hate cash plays in a no-cut event. You lose a lot of edge. You might as well take that lineup and put it in a tournament. So F cash. In fact, I'm not even talking about it for the rest of the night. If you're going to play DFS, play tournaments. So Answer is my boy for sure. From a box checking perspective, Billy Horschel checks a lot of boxes at 8,500, comes in pretty good form over his last 2 events, putts best on Bermuda. He's a Florida guy. He's very familiar with Champion Bermuda. I like Billy Ho. Now, there are 2 guys who I think are interesting, 2 more guys, and maybe you're going to talk about them. Patrick Reed, who I think is going to be a little more popular than we think, because I think people are going to want to play Patrick Reed. Good scrambler, good. I think a decent court history here. Checks the box and birdies are better. So I think Reed's going to be an interesting play at 8,800. He definitely is attractive to me. But for the first time in a long time, you know who caught my eye? Sergio Garcia at $8,000. Since the restart is absolutely killing it from a tee to green. Birdies are better, bogey avoidance, like checks literally every single box does Sergio. So I'm a little interested to get Sergio. I don't have to worry. I don't have to sweat the cut, just make me some birdies, Spanish boy. And let's do this. So I like a guy in good form coming in, which he sure is. And so I think he's going to be one that I'll probably lean to come Wednesday, unless somebody else talks him up and he becomes chalky.
I like the Sergio play, actually. I think if you're going to play him anytime this year, this is a good week to do it with the no-cut event. And, he can score. So is it for you in that
Yeah,
range?
yeah.
Are we done? Okay. So I'll start.
I started. You go ahead.
Sorry. I mean, I'll start me starting me.
Okay, you start you. You start you, and I'll start me.
Let me start me. We wrote down that we were going to do a cash play, so I have an answer right there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the answer is just I wrote down whatever answer because it's just like he's just a good play this week, and it's pretty solid. But let's get into the picks that you're probably going to disagree with some. My fade, by the way, I'll agree, was Woodland. I was totally with you there. So
okay,
we'll
good.
Get that out of the way. I'm playing Fleetwood this week outside of this miscut that we saw last week. I
don't hate it.
We didn't get to hear from me a whole lot on the podcast because I wasn't on it last week. But if I was, you would have heard that I did like Fleetwood last week, and I was wrong.
Dude, hold on. You know what I cracked up at laughing the other day that I remembered? Not last week because you just said it. We didn't hear from you a lot because you weren't on the podcast. But the week before, when I went through a range and you said, you said, okay, well, we have zero of the same players, except for one.
Except for one.
It's kind of like what you just said there. Like, well, you didn't hear. I didn't get to say a whole lot last week. You didn't hear a lot from me because I wasn't freaking here.
But I was in the chat room, and I will say, like, when I'm wrong, when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. It's like the what was that? The line from oh god, that's going to.
If it's Seinfeld, I don't know. Just move on.
No, it's not Seinfeld. It's from Dirty Dancing. Anyway,
wow, Dirty Dancing reference. Jeez.
Yeah, when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong.
Are you old enough to have watched Dirty Dancing with like your high school girlfriend on the couch while you tried to slip your hand down her?
No, I think that movie was like 87 or 88, which would have put me like 10 or 11, somewhere in that range.
That's old enough. No, just kidding.
I guess that's old enough, maybe. That's
nowadays, I feel like it is.
Yeah, that kind of alludes to the talk to what we're going to talk about in the Chunk and Run. Anyway,
yes.
What were we talking about?
Not messing with your prepubescent girlfriend. We're not talking about that in the Chunk and Run.
But what? So,
oh crap! It's getting off the rails.
I was a fan of Fleetwood last week, even though y'all were lucky enough not to hear that on the podcast. But I'm back on him this week. I'm okay with the miscut, whatever. It was his first tournament since quarantine and whatever else. He didn't hit the ball terrible, I didn't think, but he did putt pretty bad. He just didn't putt all that well. It's kind of like Paul Casey. If you had Paul Casey, that guy just couldn't buy a freaking birdie and could not make a putt. But I'm back on Fleetwood, and I'm hoping he has a little bit lower ownership because of the whole miscut and things like that. I still think this is a good course for him. You look at last year, his first time. His first time in a WGC event here. He finished T4th, but he was T14th the year before that, and then T28 before that. So he's played this course extremely well. He's a guy that's just a great ball striker, checks a box on approach, also opportunities gained, and in that par 4 scoring from 450 to 500 yards that I talked about. Now we're going back to earlier in the year. If you're looking at some of his stats, because we haven't seen him all that much, but I still like Fleetwood again this week at 8,700, and I'm hoping we get definitely some lower ownership than we saw last week. And here's the guy that I just think is a great WGC no-cut event player who we have seen play well lately, and that is Mr. Jason Day at 8,200. I am a fan of him. Okay. I love that price. Let's just look at it. I mean, his last 2 events.
My only thing on Day, because you're right, you're going to spit out all the stats. I agree. My only thing on Day was the last event we saw him play at the Memorial. He was hurting. His back was not good.
Yeah, but I don't.
Anyone who bends over and picks up their ball out of the hole on the PGA Tour, not the Champions Tour,
I saw that,
and resembles like Bob Barker if his dentures fell out of his mouth on the floor.
I'm going to get up for the second time in a row on this podcast. He did this whole.
Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself.
He did this whole he did this thing where he would lean down like that. Like he did this whole crazy.
He was hurt. I don't like it.
But I don't know if he was hurt. I don't know if it's
remember WGCs. Remember,
His doctor,
WGCs are automatic paychecks. If he hits it, we learned this from Daniel Berger a few years ago. If he puts his ball in the air on number 1 and withdraws, he's guaranteed, what, 40 grand to show
I don't
up.
care. I think he's worth the
I
risk
think he's
this
a big
week.
risk. Yep.
He's a huge risk, but he's going to be low owned. I mean, and so why not
Maybe.
play him? He's still in good form.
He will be low.
So maybe maybe he's injured, but he's still he's injured last, playing the freaking Memorial and on a very hard golf course, and he still plays pretty well. As far as I know, TPC Southwind also isn't like that hilly of a course that's going to like hurt his back or do whatever. So, I mean, I think that
Jeez.
I think
We're
Day's
talking about him like he's freaking Rocco Mediate. All right, are you done?
Yeah.
All right, 7K range. Let's hit through it real quick. I'm going to start with my fade once again. It's going to be Henrik Stenson. This is the theme for me, and it has paid off. First event showing up after the restart. I'm fading big names that draw a lot of attention, and I will fade Henrik Stenson for the first event. Now, just like Tommy last week, everybody was like, oh, he showed a 64 at Shinnecock while he was quarantined. Well, yeah, but he didn't look great. Okay, now I realize he missed the cut by like a shot or two, but that's not what you want out of a Tommy Fleetwood. Henrik Stenson's down here is a lot cheaper, which I get. You're not having to worry about a missed cut, which is also nice. But then when you look at it, he finished T27 here last year. That's not terrible. Top third of the field, okay? Here's what's really crazy. Since February of 2019, which was the first event he played, I think, in that year, he has only gained strokes off the tee in 3 out of 14 measured PGA Tour strokes gained measured events since February of 2019. In only 3 events has he gained strokes off the tee since February of 2019. Because everybody's like, oh, it's a shorter course, or you got to be in the fairway, no worries, he'll smoke that 3-wood. Well, this is not Henrik Stenson that won the U.S. Open a few years ago, or the Open Championship a few years ago. Apparently, the 3-wood or whatever, it ain't working like it used to, okay? Because he ain't hitting fairways and he ain't gaining a lot of strokes off the tee like he used to. So don't misremember old Henrik for current Henrik. It's not been great. First event off the quarantine, I'm not doing it. In terms of GPP plays, I like Mark Leishman, who's played really well here before. Interesting, good player in tough conditions. If the wind does pick up here and the court, you play in rain or something like that, I think Leishman's a good play there at 7,700. Sneaky leverage play here. Kevin Na. I like Kevin Na. When you look at the restart,
I keep looking at him, and I'm like,
okay.
Nope.
I kind of like him though. Now I rarely play a chalky Kevin Na, but I do like Kevin Na here. Since the restart, 12th in strokes gained approach, 16th in greens in regulation, 15th in birdies or better gained, with a 5th at the Travelers, a 9th at the Memorial. I like Kevin Na at this event. I think this is a course that suits him anyway. If you just think about the profile of somebody who play well here, I think that suits him. Also, I'm gonna go with Joaquin Niemann at 7,400. I'm gonna hop on the Joaquin train. Love the ball striking, the iron play here. I'll work with that, and then I'm gonna throw out one more, and that's Kisner at 7,000. If I don't have to worry about him making a cut, if I can get a Kisner who loves to show up at big events like this too. Who's not afraid of these big events, who's not afraid to go out there and say, I got to make some birdies. I'm going to go make some birdies. Now, he hasn't done that very well since the restart, but I think you're going to get him, like sub 5% at 7,000. I get a nice little price savings. I'll go Kiz. That's it for me in the sevens.
Wow. Okay. We got nobody here we have nothing that is in agreement here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go with, I faded Joaquin Niemann. I don't like him this week. He's not checking the box and putting on Bermuda. It's his first time playing this course. Doesn't check the box for me in driving accuracy or in that par 4 scoring from 450 to 500 yards. So I'm actually out on Niemann, and I wonder where his ownership's going to be. It may be pretty high. I don't know, but I'm out on Niemann. Not a big fan. So I'm against you there. I'll start with at the top for me. I'm on Matthew Wolff this week at 7,900. I like him. I mean, the guy's an aggressive player. He's been playing. And if you're going to play a guy that's an aggressive guy like he is, this is the week to do it with a no-cut event and whatever else. And a lot of people, he was one, again, that I didn't get to talk about on the podcast that I think a lot of people didn't like last week that I did like. And I think I mentioned it in the chat room. I was on some Wolf last week, despite the fact that he had won the year before and whatever else. I think at 7,900 is a pretty good price for him. We know he is a scorer. I mean, the guy is just as aggressive as they come. So I like Wolf at 7,900, and we'll play him all day long. Another guy that's been kind of hit or miss, Scotty Scheffler at 7,300. I think he's another aggressive player with a no-cut event that we don't have to worry about him just having a bad day or whatever. I think Scheffler is a good play as well. Checks a box in opportunities gained. Also, he's actually a pretty accurate driver of the golf ball and a good ball striker. So I'm all in on Scotty Scheffler at 7,300. And then another guy that missed the cut last week and hasn't played that great, but has played really well on this course, and that is Bubba Watson at 7,100. I think he is a great leverage play, will be super low owned. He has gained 28 strokes on the field over the last 5 years playing this event with a top 10 last year. He finished second back in 2015, 2 top 15s in a row in 16 and 17. So I like some Bubba Watson at 7,100. And he's shown some flashes of playing pretty well this year. I mean, just at certain times. So I do like some Bubba there. I don't have a cash play, I guess, but
who cares?
Hadwin's another guy, another name that I wrote down.
Yeah, okay.
I think Hadwin's good. So,
all right, 6K. I'll move quickly. I like Streelman. I like Palmer. I like Byung-Hun An in a no-cut event. Thank God. Seabez, Bezenhooty Hoot is interesting. There's a few. There's a number of names down here I like. So I think we'll just see how it works out. Come Wednesday night, we'll figure that out. Any other names down here that kind of?
I'll give you two actually, and they're
okay.
I'll give you two, and they're both from overseas, but they're not just. This isn't their first rodeo right now, and that is Matt Wallace at 6,700. Finished T4 at the Memorial, T39 at the Workday. Playing really well. And then Tom Lewis. I'm going to give you that guy down really cheap at 6,200. Finished T12 at the Rocket Mortgage and 32nd last week. I think Tom Lewis, 6,200, that's a good price for him. So if you're wanting just a cheap, super low owned, like 1% owned guy, I would put in some Tom Lewis in your lineups. I like him.
Wow. Man, I didn't even realize he played last week. That's a dark horse for sure. Okay.